Hey guys, Paul from Net Audio here, and today we're going to talk about the changes and differences on the 2025 Ram trucks. We've been, of course, dealing with the 2025s now for, probably about a year. We're really late to the game on announcing everything that we have for it. So I'm sorry, this is all products and solutions that we've had since April, March, we're just late to the game because we got a lot of stuff on the plate. We're going to go over a couple of products, but we're going to talk about the changes, what's the same, what's different. Let's first talk about what's the same. The cab. The cab is like 98% the same. That means that all of our enclosures except the behind the seat enclosures are the same. We'll talk about the behind the seats later. The only differences that we've seen as far as speaker locations and wiring and mounting and all that sort of stuff has been, and I know 25 is going to be kind of a weird year because the Hemis are coming back, so we don't know what that's going to change in 26, 27. So 2025, we don't have e-torque if you have the inline six, so that changes up the back wall. Unless you have the V6 instead of the inline six, then they do have an e-torque option. But honestly, we haven't dealt with anybody yet that had that, so I don't know how popular of an option that's going to be. That frees up some space on the back wall, but also complicates other space on the back wall. Under the seat, what that changes is, so take the 60/40 seat bracket and mirror that to the other side of the truck. You have this hump in the carpet that's where the e-torque wiring and stuff came from under the hood. It goes under the truck and up under there to get to the e-torque battery. Even though e-torque is kind of different, there's still a massive lump of carpet there that's now bigger. I don't know why. There's less stuff under there. But on the driver's side, so driver's side door sill moves up to the seat frame and the floor starts to angle up towards the back wall. There's a lump of carpet there that is not there on the 19 to 24s. There's a couple of wire bundles that come through there. They're like that big. They're not big at all. I do not know why that carpet bundle is so big. All of our existing enclosures all still fit right in place. Like that carpet just flattens down. We've had them out. We've done sound deadening. We've done wiring runs, and we've done all that stuff on 25s, on Cruise, RHOs, bass audio, premium. It doesn't matter. We've worked on them. That's not in the way. Again, I don't know why that carpet lump is so flippin' huge. That's the only physical changes we've really seen other than the back wall. Primarily, I'm going to talk about the amp racks, talking about the behind the seat enclosures. That's going to be another video because there's a lot of stuff that changes there. With the amp racks on the passenger side, that's kind of our go-to, but there's a ton of extra modules and other stuff that's behind the seat on the 25 that's not there on the 24. So our existing amp rack that goes from the passenger C-pillar over to where the e-torque battery would start, so the 60 side of the back seat, that amp rack gets cut down pretty much in half. It takes away a lot of it. Not the end of the world because we have a matching side on the driver's side that's now open on the vast majority of these trucks because you don't have an e-torque battery. But one thing that has changed, the RHOs, just like the TRX, extremely popular trucks, and the main difference for our side that's in the way is there is a extra computer that fits and goes behind the back seat where the e-torque battery would go, and that's the same on a TRX versus an RHO. My understanding is that module is what controls and handles all the differences for the RHO and TRX, primarily like the launch control stuff and the different motor. But mainly the launch control stuff. So you can't move it, can't get rid of it. It's only there on those trucks, so I'm assuming it has something to do with that. We modified our driver's side amp rack to fit around that, but it fits right in front of it and bolts in place just like normal. That module is sunk back up closer to the wall, so it's out of the way of doing our amp rack. So we will have two different amp racks coming. Let's talk more about the wiring and what's same. Bass audio, it's the same. Bass audio ANC module, it's the same. The harnesses on both of those are the same. The Alpine system, subwoofer behind the seat is the same. The wiring at the amplifiers are the same. ANC harness is the same. Harman, everything's flipping different. They're just different. What the 2025 Harman system is doing, and it's the same amp, same wiring on the HD trucks, just different wiring configuration, of course. So the Harman system, they took the amplifier that has been in the Grand Wagoneer since 22, I think. It's the Macintosh amplifier. So instead of 2 big plugs and a smaller plug, you have 3 big plugs and a smaller plug because there's more channels. So what they did is, instead of each 3.5 being one channel with a coax, whereas a tweeter and a mid, now you have 2 separate channels for each 3.5. Your dash locations, your center location, your tweeters in the door locations, and in the headliner. Every one of those is 2 channels. There are 19 separate channels of active processing in those trucks. 20 channels total, because now the Harman system has 2 channels for the subwoofer. It's a dual voice coil instead of a single voice coil sub. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We already have our harnesses that plug in for the amps. Our net audio bypass harness that plugs in allows us access to all those speaker locations using the factory wiring. New amplifier goes back to all those different speaker wires. The holdup is PAC, unfortunately. Not unfortunately because it's PAC. I'm saying unfortunately what's changed is the data. So the hardware size, the AP4 CH42R2, the plugs are the same. The Amp Pro is the same. All that stuff stays the same. But if you buy that and you plug it into your 2025, the radio won't even turn on because the data network on the trucks changed. And that's for all the platforms. So if you want to use a CH42 or an AP sub CH42 on any platform in the 2025, 1500, 2500, 3500, whatever, anything in the Amp Pro network will not work because the data network changed. So we're waiting on PAC to come out with an update, which hopefully will be before the year end, but I've been in this industry long enough to know that that could still change. If Mopar changes something, makes an update, whatever, then it can tank everything that PAC is doing in order to make that change. So right now, we're kind of in limbo if you're wanting to amplify and replace everything using an Amp Pro on the Alpine or the Harman Kardon systems. What can we do for now? Well, we have our new subwoofer interface. Now, this has been on the market since about April or March. We've been selling these. We've shipped them out to stereo shops. We've sold them to a lot of consumers. We've sent them out with our pre-made amp racks and packages. So this is something that we've had tried and true out where we know it's consistent and it works. You know, our standard has been the PAC LP7-2, but on these new systems, it's not the best solution. Yes, this interface costs more, but we're also going to trickle this down to the rest of our interfaces where we're going to be using primarily our WaveTech interfaces instead of the PAC interfaces. We've been doing the harnesses and using the PAC modules for well over a decade at this point. We started making our harnesses and interfaces roughly around 2014, maybe late 2013, where we were using pieces and harnesses from other manufacturers and modifying them in order to make them work for our customers. But our subwoofer harnesses, we've been selling and making those since 2012 or 2013. So we've had our subwoofer interfaces and harnesses on the market for a very long time now. So we've just had to stay up on what connector is fitting onto the factory harnesses. So these are parts that we actually pin and solder and wire up and make in-house. This is, you know, it is on order one at a time. But with the 2025s, there's some different sensitivities on the factory amplifier that requires us to use a more advanced interface. So we've been using the WaveTech interfaces for I don't know, 7 years or so. We've been a dealer for them for a very long time. We love their interfaces. We love their amplifiers. We use them all the time. Their new subwoofers are freaking awesome, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of those coming from us here in the future. But today we're going to talk primarily about the Link 2. This all shares over to a lot of their other interfaces and the reasons why we're using it. Couple of things. If you're around modern car audio, you hear a lot of people talk about load resistors. In layman's terms, what we're having to do load resistance for is because the factory amplifiers and factory radios are getting a lot smarter. So when I say smarter, I mean it's not just an amp putting out power. Those speaker wires are also being monitored by the computer. So if those speaker wires see something that they do not like, they say, well, something's going on here. I'm muting this channel to keep myself from getting hurt. What we have to do is we have to make the amplifier see a speaker. You know, we have to do something to mimic a speaker. In 2016, Mopar switched over on the radios where we had to do load resistors on the radios. Before that, the amplifiers had to have load resistance since 2009. So this is not anything that's new. If you remove a channel from a speaker, meaning if you take the speaker wires and you cut them in half in order to feed it into an interface, DSP, straight into an amp, something, that radio or amp cannot see that speaker. So load has to be applied on the speaker wires in order to keep that device happy. These WaveTech interfaces have that built into it. Alpine subs have 3 coils, and we only need 2 coils. So to keep the amp happy, we have a load resistor on the open channel. We don't want it thinking something's wrong with this one and then affecting the other 2 channels. The WaveTech interfaces have that load built into it. If you don't have that load, if you try to take that signal and feed it straight into an amp, or if you try to feed it into a cheaper converter, we use these LP7-2s. They don't have enough load to keep the factory amplifier happy on that subwoofer channel. We've tried. So the other reason why we're using the WaveTech controllers, the signal coming out of the new Harman amp for the subs is massive. We have measured it upwards of 40 volts. I mean, it is a really, really big signal. And the complication of that is with these types of interfaces, they're not made for that type of voltage. We've actually seen cheaper converters recently, not even on a Ram. This was on a Subaru. The subwoofer, the Harman subs, was putting out such a big signal it melted the converter. When we use this on that Subaru, when we've used this on these newer Rams, the signal was so big that it was making it distort just out of the box. Like, we could only turn it down so much. You know, we can't go down low enough to keep it from distorting. With these converters, when you order them for these Harman systems, what we're doing is we're going ahead and taking these apart, and there's a jumper inside here that knocks the gain structure down a peg. That keeps it from distorting, and this is feedback we've also got from dealers who are using our harnesses, and they said, hey, it's doing this, you know, and we tell them, well, this is what we have to do. So we're stepping it down before we can boost it. So we're stepping the signal down to a range where this isn't distorting because of the big signal coming in, and then this is a line driver, so it's an amplifier for the RCAs essentially. So we're using this to ramp it back up in order to get back to that large signal to go back into your sub amp. On the side of your WaveTech interfaces, we have our clipping indicator, which is just the fancy term for distortion, and we have our gain. So we apply gain until that flickers and you move on. For now, on the 2025 and up Harmans, we have a subwoofer solution. We just can't help you add full vocals until we get the Amp Pro. The tuning using the factory subwoofer signal is a little bit different because we're feeding it a reduced range. We have some other videos talking about that. So whenever you're adjusting your amplifier controls, you want to have your subsonic filter pretty much off, like all the way down, and we want the crossover for the low pass either off or all the way up, because we're already feeding it. The factory Harman signal is 80 hertz down. It is a extremely usable signal, so there's no reason for us to apply any more crossovers to that. And if you cross it over, you're stacking crossovers and slopes, and it's going to do some weird stuff. Just don't do it. The other advantage of using this is, again, we have other videos talking about active equalization. It's kind of a hot topic in the industry. We're a fan of it. We like the active EQ. It works. It is what a lot of customers are used to. If you use an Amp Pro whenever they're available, the downside is that at low volume, your bass stays linear with the rest of your vocals. So your Harman system right now is extremely bass heavy on the tune. And as you go up in volume, what it's doing is the vocals are catching up to the bass. But a lot of people see it as they're taking my bass away. They're not taking your bass away. Your bass is already up there. So this keeps the bass at, you know, a working level whenever you're turned down at normal range. So this way your sound system still sounds full instead of sounding hollow because the subwoofer is missing. With this interface and with this harness, what we do is this is plug and play. Again, we have a video where we show you how to get to the factory subwoofer connector without having to pull the back seat. So this plugs in, and then we have power and ground. So when this module gets signal and power and ground, it will create the remote turn on for you. And we just piggyback the power ground off of our new amplifier location, so we give you enough slack to be able to do that. This is just a mock-up harness, so it'll actually come with more slack than this. You'll get your power and ground off of it, and then you just run your remote into the new amp, and it'll tell the new amp to turn on. Another common question that we get is, I installed it, but my subs are staying turned on. This could honestly be its own topic. These newer cars are just a computer. I mean, come on, it's 2025. Everything out there is essentially a computer of some form today. These trucks are no different. Whenever you unlock the truck, whenever you open the doors, whenever you approach it, if you have the passive entry, whenever you have the keyless entry system, whenever you walk up to it, that truck kind of has like a soft boot. It's like everything kind of wakes up and says, okay, am I fixing to be turned on? You know, what's going on? So it kind of energizes a bunch of different stuff. And that includes the screen. You'll walk up and you'll see the screen kind of illuminate, and it'll still be black, but it's got kind of a soft glow to it. Well, this doesn't know any different across those speaker wires when it sees audio versus just some electrical noise on the wires. When your truck is opened, unlocked, whatever, yes, this is going to turn on. Yes, the amplifier is going to turn on, but so what? It's a short time period. It's not going to hurt anything. As soon as you lock the truck and walk away, it'll all turn off. So a way to test that, open the doors and leave the truck alone. If you have keyless entry, the passive entry, that remote has to be like in the house, like 30 feet away, something like that, to let it go to sleep, essentially. So if everything is left alone, you'll see the dome light turn off and the truck fell asleep in that state. This will turn off. But if you go open the glove box door and that light turns on, the truck wakes back up. I mean, it is a very delicate system. This works. If this was staying on 24/7, your battery would be dead in the morning if it was leaving your amplifier on. The other thing that goes along with that, again, this is something we've had since March, and we just haven't done any updates on it. We've actually shipped this out with a few different orders. So the other change on the 25 Harman system is the ANC plug. It's a different plug. Now, what we have been doing on some applications, just for testing purposes, is unplugging the plug. So I told you earlier that the bigger Harman amp now has 4 plugs. You have 3 plugs that are virtually the same size, different colors, and they have different stuff on them. And then there's one plug that is significantly smaller. That's this plug. All that harness has on it are your 8 microphone wires, so your 4 ANC microphones, and then 2 data wires that are directly related to the ANC system. You can unplug that harness and it kills the ANC system. Ta-da, no wires having to be cut, no having to depin or do anything like that. But what it does is it doesn't throw any codes or errors on your gauge cluster, but it does on the back end. So whenever a mechanic or a RAM tech comes in and they plug in their scan tool, it's going to throw all these error codes for the ANC system because it's unplugged. And then you have to tell them, oh, it's unplugged, or they're going to go in and plug it back in thinking they're helping you out, you know, whatever. All we're doing is we're removing the microphone wires and we're keeping the data wires in check. This just keeps the scan tool happy for the mechanic. It's not throwing errors. You're not having to explain what's going on or anything like that. You're not having to cut wires. It's just a little plug and play harness. It's not an expensive harness. It's a very, very simple product. Anybody who is approached with this problem is going to have the exact same solution to it. It's not anything proprietary. It's a very simple, basic harness. When you order this converter, it comes with the harness. We're also going to have this on there separately because I know not everyone's going to use our converter. The 25 HD trucks have their own special thing, but it does come with the 25 ANC harness for the Harman system, not the Alpine system. They're just making things a lot of complications, but we have a solution for every one of those possibilities. I think I've pretty much covered every bit of this. There's a lot of stuff that's changed, and I know 26, with them bringing back the Hemi, is going to have some other surprises. So we'll keep you updated on that. And like I said, on the behind the seats, we've done one already. We have another one in production. So whenever we have that one ready to go, we'll show it off and we'll talk about the differences of the behind the seat truck enclosures, what options there are, what changes are coming. Other than that, if you have questions, you can hit us up in the comments down below. You can definitely hit us up social media, Facebook and Instagram and the TikTok and all that stuff. You can shoot me an email at paul@netaudio.com. And also, you feel free to call the shop if you have questions. We're always available to talk to you. We actually answer our phones, 940-767-1800. Look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, guys.